Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 7 of the Harmonious Engineering Let's Play series. So I've been out and about exploring. You can see I started from home, went northeast a little bit, and then headed straight east along the shoreline, and I've been coming back down to head back home. I was looking for something that was right here, which was dark oak. These were also made out of dark oak, and I also got some jungle wood. But as you can see, not very far from us here, maybe about 1,000 blocks or so out, is this Woodland Mansion. This is not a standard Woodland Mansion. I believe this is a variant. But this is interesting. This is potentially dangerous, but I want to see what this is about. Maybe we wait until we get slightly better enchantments. I'm not 100% sure that I want to go through and risk all of our stuff, but I don't know. Maybe we do it. Maybe we do it. Let me get my stuff put away here, because like I said, I have been exploring quite a bit. I think I picked up some wool along the way, so we can always set our spawn point nearby, in case we do die. Looks like the front door is there. So yeah, let's go ahead and put this together here. I've got a couple of storage crates. You scared the crap out of me. And I believe in one of these, I don't remember which, there we go. We do have some wool. We've gotten a good bit of supplies as well as we've gone, so let's go ahead and make ourselves a bed here and dump off the rest of this inventory because it is quite a mess. I might use these just to kind of make a little fence or something. I don't know, just trying to clean things up a little bit. Let's make a waypoint. Let's see, temp, camp. And let me see if I can clean up my inventory here a little bit. Like I said, it is quite a mess. Maybe we'll put a fifth crate down over here for the remainder of our items here. I'm going to bring a golden apple. We're going to grab some torches and let's go exploring. So this, I don't know if this is going to be different than a standard woodland mansion. I can't imagine that it would be, but I don't know. Part of why I wanted to go out exploring is I've been needing some sand, I've been needing some clay, and I've been needing some green dye. I did find a solution for my green dye that we will get into in just a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to run around here and see what's worth seeing. This is, so far, just standard mob spawns. But I do hear noise, so let's inspect. That's not a noise that I'm used to hearing from mobs, from illagers. I'm a little concerned now that there might be an isolager in here, possibly from or some other friends from Savage and Ravage. We'll see. We'll see. But worst case scenario, this will get us some emeralds, some XP. Hopefully we don't lose XP. That would be not ideal. Right, yeah, I think things are getting a little bit unfair with the Vexes and the Evoker Fangs. The last time I checked, Evokers are the only things that can summon Evoker Fangs. So I'm gonna continue to run on that assumption, and maybe that thing is just haunted, and so Evoker Fangs and Vex will just continue to spawn. Because I'm, like, super far away, I'm trying to sleep now, and they won't even leave me alone. I don't even know where they're spawning from. I'm really confused. Like, this just doesn't seem right. So I'm gonna run home. Hopefully, we don't get got along the way, because I'm not too sure what's going on, but definitely a little weird. A little bit of a weird behavior. Why are, like, I am now about 100 blocks away from there. I don't know what's going on. It's almost like I've been tagged or something. It's weird. Because, like, the Evoker Fangs, I cleared out all the Evokers from that floor. I checked. So I don't know where the Evoker Fangs were coming from either. Again, maybe it's a Savage and Ravage thing, actually. I don't know. But definitely a little more spooky than I'm looking for at the moment. A little more dangerous than I was expecting, for sure. So, fortunately, we didn't die. We didn't lose our levels. But I got 3 totems of undying and I'm satisfied. I didn't even need these. I don't even care about them. They don't have a use. I just was hoping that we could get some fun stuff, but yikes. Anyways, I'll meet up with you guys back at the base. Got everything unpacked. My inventory, my backpack is a mess because I accidentally sorted it, so I'll reconfigure this in a little bit. But there's a couple of things that I've been wanting to make, and that is why we have so many different organics. I picked up a bunch while we were out, but if I grab some ferns, and I believe there might be, yeah, okay, that should be it. The ferns here can be, you can of course compost them, but you can mill them into green dye. And I need green dye right now for something that I've been trying to get to. And that, where is it? Somewhere. Here we go. The Morphing Tool. So the Morphing Tool will allow us to take any wrench, any screwdriver, any hammer, and put it all into just one singular item that will allow us to auto switch, sort of like the Akashic Tome. In fact, very, very similar to the Akashic Tome. It uses the same exact mechanics, and in fact is made by the same exact developer. This right here, this wrench from Supplementaries, this is just a nice thing to have. Most wrenches serve a purpose within one mod, but this wrench allows you to rotate basically anything that has a rotation attribute on it. So if you hit F3, you can see there is the facing attribute over here on the right. I know that this is pretty technical, but this facing attribute can be rotated, and we can use the wrench to do so. So you can see that it does take durability damage, and that is a bit of a shame, but we can go ahead and I'll show you a couple of things that are cool. We can, of course, repair this in an anvil, I believe, with copper. But let's get that Akashic Tome using a millstone. A millstone is pretty obtainable for us at the moment. Nothing really out of our reach. So we have a single cog, and what was the other piece? A andesite casing. So we'll grab these, and what I'll do is I will grab another cog wheel, possibly one of you as well, and I think that probably will be okay. And we'll set this up over here to go ahead and let us automatically process. Once we're done with that, I've got quite a bit of experience. I'd like to get some enchanting done because our armor took a really big beating while we were in the that mansion. Definitely shouldn't have done that. But it's okay. I mean, you know, mistakes were made, sure, but it is what it is. I'm not really all that upset about it. But what I'm going to do is if I put a cogwheel here, you can see that it's going to continue to work anyways. So it's going to pass through that rotation as we've seen before. And if I decided to put another one here, for example, I could just leave my millstone floating because you can see that it is also in and of itself a cogwheel. But I think what I'm going to do is try to keep things looking nice and clean and just do something like this instead. So this is going to also slow it down a little bit, which I think is possibly not ideal. So maybe we reverse that and speed it up instead. So now if we toss in our ferns, they will get ground up. And if you see up there in the top, right up here, there is a tooltip that tells us what all is in there, and we can see that we're processing very quickly. The millstone itself isn't used for a lot. It's basically just used for mostly soft materials. You can turn charcoal into black and gray dye. You can pulverize sand into, or sandstone back into sand. You can more efficiently get dyes yielded out of a lot of different flower types. You can also get more flax out of, or more string out of flax, and a couple other little things here and there. As you can see, there are a handful of recipes. But I think the most useful ones for us, at least at our stage in the game, are the ones that we're doing right now. And then there is another one that I'm looking for. Calcite into bone meal is also kind of a good one. Dripstone into clay ball, also relatively interesting if we were to automate that. But this one right here, turning wheat into wheat flour, could be interesting because we can then turn one wheat directly into one bread instead of 3 wheat into one bread. And we do get a chance for extra outputs there as well. We can also use this to harvest rice panicles, and we can recycle saddles a little more efficiently. So yeah, for the most part, this is used for small scale crushing. We can't really take that and like go put ores in it or anything. It's not that powerful. The gritting teeth in there just cannot seem to get a hold of anything quite so chunky and hard. Now what we'll do with that, and I'll go and clean up my inventory just a tiny bit, but what we'll do with this is grab a singular blue dye, and in here I should have a bunch of things that can make red dye, but I'll take a rose bush, and if I grab 1 piece of iron extra, we can make ourselves a morphing tool. That's gonna finish up one of the quests in the early chapters here, get us a couple more experience. But what we can do is now we can take all of these wrenches and wrench-like items, things that kind of sort of function like a wrench anyway, and consolidate them in here with our morphing tool. So we can take this guy, and you'll see that it goes from just morphing tool to morphing tool with a create wrench in it, and then the same for a hammer, and again the same for a pneumatic craft wrench, and once again for the supplementaries wrench. So what's cool is if we wanted to take out our wrench, I have a word of warning. If you're going to use something like this wrench or the wrench from Immersive Engineering, these wrenches that can possibly break, what you want to do is before it breaks, take it out of your morphing tool, because if it breaks while you have your morphing tool or while you have it in a morphing tool, you will lose the other tools in your morphing tool as well. You'll lose everything. But if it's about to break, what you can do is select the wrench in your morphing tool by holding the morphing tool in your hand and sneaking and scrolling with your scroll wheel. And then if you sneak and press Q, it will throw that wrench out of our morphing tool. There is unfortunately one slight bug here where the wrench here, or anything that gets thrown out of either the Akashic Tome or here, will have a mistranslated tooltip. And so that is kind of just one of the downsides. Honestly, for the 4 copper that it's going to cost, I'd much rather just make another one to remove that weird naming issue, because I don't do that often. And normally if you're removing it, it's because it's about to break. So I'm going to go and swap out my hammer for that one, and let's do some enchanting, because it is definitely something that I've been needing to do. Also, slime balls don't belong in there, and I don't know why they are in there. So we're finally up to enough XP levels to go ahead and merge our boots together, because I think that will be quite the move to take. So we said 18 levels for protection 2 for the falling forward, death shredder. I will take it. That is a very decent set of enchantments. I think all we could really ask for at this point would be like, I don't know, probably unbreaking of some degree, of some fashion, but I really have no idea where we would even find something like that at this point. So at this point, I think I'm pretty happy with our enchants. I will need to go through and repair these. I should probably re-roll an enchant for my chest plate sometime soon, because it doesn't have anything special on it. And I'm still starving for that Fortune 3 pickaxe, but we may have to go and use villagers, because I haven't done villagers in a Let's Play yet. I use villagers a lot personally, but I just always forget to bring them out and do something with them for a Let's Play series. So we might have to do that. And by have to, I really don't mean that in a bad way. I just think it might be something we should finally get around to doing. Speaking of getting around to doing stuff, let's finally get around to doing something for this episode. So in this episode, we need to get a hold of a handful of materials. I'm going to go ahead and get that wheel starting to roll a little bit, because we're going to need 9 times 2. So I think we'll need that. We're going to end up needing 72 pieces of clay smelted by the end of the day, because we are going to need to make ourselves a coke oven and a blast furnace. So the quest line here is going to explain what these do, but I can also do that same exact thing. The coke oven here is going to allow us to make this stuff here. This is coke. If you look at coke, it can smelt 16 items, but more importantly than it being able to smelt more than normal coal, and by the way, this is made just by giving it a piece of normal coal, so you're actually it's free, all this costs is time, and you get a better fuel out of it, but you can also use it as a blast furnace fuel. There are not many blast furnace fuels. You can either use charcoal, which you'll need 4 charcoal for every 1 coke. And the reason that that's important is that in the blast furnace, you're going to need 60 seconds worth of fuel to create 1 steel ingot. So if you wanted to make 1 iron into 1 steel ingot, you would either need 1 coal coke or 4 charcoal. And that starts to get a little bit expensive and a little bit complicated. I mean, needless to say, we're okay on woods, which is part of why I went exploring, was to go get some more. But I think in the end of the day, we will be thanking ourselves for giving ourselves a slightly better infrastructure. So I'm going to go ahead and grab 9 more of these clay and going ahead and disassembling them, because we're going to need that as well for the coke oven. And then what comes after the coke oven is a blast furnace, and that is also going to require 36 nether bricks. So I will go ahead and queue these netherrack in here. That way when the clay balls are done smelting, it'll move straight into the netherrack smelting, and that will be very helpful. So while we wait, I can go ahead and start some of the recipe setup here. We're going to need 36 of these as well. And the reason that we're needing 36 of everything is that all of the recipes here that we're going to be going for are going to yield 3, and we need 27. So 3 times, or 27 divided by 3, sorry, words. 27 divided by 3 is 9, so that's why we're needing all sorts of things. So we need blast brick and coke brick, and most of these things we need in intervals of 9, because these are all going to be 3 by 3 by 3 structures. And you may be wondering, magma blocks, I do have some. I went and gathered them from one of the ruined portals that we are the exact same ruined portal, actually, that we visited previously. And you see both of these recipes are going to require bricks in the same place. So that's kind of why we need 72 bricks to be smelted up here. But as these finish smelting, and I don't think that there's really any other way to get them except for breaking down bricks, and I don't think we have... Yeah, we don't have any brick blocks, rather. So the only other way that you can really get this is from blasting in bulk, which we might want to look into. This is stuff that we can absolutely create right now. No pun intended there with create, but we might want to do that. We can essentially forego this entire smelting setup here and replace it with a nice blasting setup and smoking setup, and then we wouldn't need nearly as many fuels to run things, because this does not cost any XP to create, or to use rather. So maybe we look into doing that while we wait here and smelt stuff up. I said XP, I meant fuel. So let's go ahead and get ourselves, actually, you know what? I'm going to bookmark these, and let's get an encased fan. And we'll set this up sort of similarly to how we have set up a couple of other things so far. We're going to need a shaft. Let's go ahead and grab a couple of cogs. As mentioned, we had set up the, here we go. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then we'll grab 4 pieces of iron to turn into plates, and we'll grab the andesite alloy, make a few more shafts. I think that should be good. I thought I heard little footsteps out here, but maybe I was just imagining it. Anyways, so what we can do is create a small smelting setup that will be completely free and would not cost us anything to use. We will probably set it up closer to our home at some point, but for now, we'll set it up over here. I will take one of these and one of these to make ourselves another depot. And I'm just going to make this like the most compact contraption I think I could possibly make it into. And I might go ahead and make another crafting table and put it over here, just because we are definitely doing a large majority of create stuff at the moment. And that will get us a propeller. The propeller can then be combined with all these other things to make an encased fan. The encased fan is a little bit tricky. Let's go ahead and make more of these just in case. And I'm going to go ahead and make another gearbox just in case. The encased fan is a little bit tricky though. So what I don't love about the encased fan, there's only one thing really, and that is the simple fact that it does not rotate. Thought I heard something. It was a drowned being created. I don't like the fact that they're called the drowned, being a past tense term. But they are picky about which direction the air is, or the rotation is coming in as. So you can see here that the items are being sucked downwards. So if I break something and throw it over here, you'll see that it gets snapped down. So what this is going to be a problem, or the cause of this being a problem, is that the rotation is the wrong direction. And not only that, I'm also being very, very dumb here by not using the create wrench. So let's go ahead and get our morphing tool out. And as mentioned, it will automatically change to the right tool when you look at a block or an item from that mod, or a block really. So what we'll do is we'll make another vertical gearbox to rotate the rotation, or shift the rotation really, so that it rotates in the correct direction. And then we can just run this here in parallel. So we'll do this, and now you can see it is blowing upwards. And if I stand here, it'll actually blow hard enough that I can kind of slightly levitate. Not too much. I might bump this up a block just for the sake of aesthetics here. And what we can do once our fan is put in place here, is we'll put a lava source block right here in this gap, and then we'll put our depot here. And then anything that we want smelted, we'll just put directly in the depot and wait for the lava to do its thing, and then we'll be good to go. So I am going to go grab some lava. I don't remember where we got some last time, but I do know that there is a little lava lake over here. So let me, let's see, create temporary waypoint, and let me go get that lava, and I'll be right back. All right, so we've got the lava that we need, and if I put this down here, you'll see if I were to grab this, you'll see that there is now hot spewing lava coming out of this. Obviously, we don't want it to leave necessarily, so we can test this out by putting a piece of gravel on there to smelt. Gravel smelts into slag, and so if we put this on here to test just simply, you'll see that this turned into slag, and it cost us nothing to do that. There's no fuel cost by doing that. That lava will never disappear, it will never despawn, it will never be consumed. It's free. So now we can get rid of our furnace setup if we wanted to, or at least, for now. I think that there are definitely some upsides, but that setup over there is just as easily automatable and is capable of going even faster. If we were to if we were to gear shift it a little bit, we could actually make it go as fast as we wanted, and then it would smelt even faster. The faster the particles, the faster the smelting process, or whatever process. There's also washing and haunting and smoking. So you can use a campfire to produce a smoking effect. You can use a soul campfire or a soul fire to do the haunting recipe, which is not really done for used for much. But the soul campfires, let's see, fan. We'll do this. So you can wash with water, you can blast with lava, you can smoke foods with fire or campfire, and you can haunt with a soul campfire or soul fire. So you can see that's another way to get nether bricks if you wanted to. This just seems a little ridiculous. But a lot of these recipes are very cool, like being able to create blackstone from cobblestone, or infesting a handful of the blocks if you wanted to. You can also make, this is probably one of the most useful recipes. You can see that really didn't take long to smelt those items. One of the most useful recipes is the lapis into prismarine shards. And then there's the haunted bell, which I actually have never really played with. I don't necessarily know what it does, but there are a good handful of recipes. Anyways, that is everything we needed already done. Like I said, significantly quicker that way than with a furnace, and it doesn't cost any fuel. It just requires a small amount of infrastructural setup. And as mentioned, I'll probably take that, pick it up, and move it over here instead, and maybe have two or three, one for haunting, smoking, and blasting, or maybe just have two for blasting. I don't really know yet. I haven't decided. But let's go ahead and get half of these here and put them together for a coke brick set. And let's do the same here for a blast brick set. We're just going to kind of jump straight into both at the same time because there's no reason not to. Let's go ahead and put the charcoal in here because we're not going to need it. Let's grab a little bit of iron, maybe like 16 pieces of iron here. And I will go ahead and put the slag in there because we will be producing more slag as we go. Let's grab a stack of charcoal, or stack of rather normal coal. And maybe we do 24. So if we wanted to set these furnaces up, I think what I'm going to do is set them up here. I said furnaces. They're not really furnaces. We can do the blast furnace here. Sorry, this is coke. In Railcraft, it was the other way around, I believe. Well, no, maybe not. I don't know why I got them mixed up. Never mind. Disregard. But this is a coke oven. And so now we can put our charcoal in here, and it will just generate for us coal coke. We can put logs in here to create charcoal. Again, this doesn't cost anything to run. You just put it in, and the pressure and the overall passive heat from this will sort of clarify the impurities from coal and form two different things. That is the purified coal, which is coke, and then that is the impurity over here, which is the creosote oil. And it's sort of just kind of making or taking the oils out of the coal, because coal is made from carboniferous plants and other organic materials with carbon in them. So whenever you get that, sometimes there's oil byproducts inside of the coal that are not flammable. So creosote is one of those, and you can squeeze it right out. And then if we form our blast brick by just right-clicking it with, once again, our hammer here, we can get ourselves a blast furnace. And now, since we already had some coke from just running around and looting different villages, we can use that now and go ahead and toss that into the blast furnace to get iron smelting into steel. So at this point, we just have to sit here and wait for some steel. And there we go. There's our first piece of steel. And that is going to get us another quest reward handled. So now that we've gotten into the Age of Steel, I'm just going to leave this running, by the way, because we're going to need a lot. Now that we've gotten into the Age of Steel, there are a couple of things that we can make with steel. Even though I proceeded to put it away just then, we'll loop back around to that. I've just got a good bit of junk in my inventory that I wanted to clean out. Ooh, speedometer might not be a bad idea. So the steel ingot can be used for tools. There are steel tools, steel armors, etc. So you see that there are a bunch of things that you can use steel for here along the lines of arsenal. Steel is also used to create space stations. You know, kind of self-explanatory. Of course, you can make plates out of it. But then you get into this tab over here, and these tabs will kind of explain the rest of it. So steel is used to make silica steel from more minecarts. Steel is also used to make steel wire, steel rods, and steel plates. Steel rods will get us quite a bit of stuff. That includes the Panzer glass blocks, which I think you can make any sort of metal for that. But there's the revolver barrels, the metal doors. You can also get into, aside from the aesthetic things here, you can also get into, I'm trying to find something actually immersive related. I don't know where it is. Where's the scaffolding? Did I miss scaffolding? Anyways, steel scaffolding is kind of the number one thing you're going to use with immersive, because steel scaffolding kind of goes hand in hand here with a lot of our machines, because the next machine that I want to make is a crusher. The crusher here will make us quite a bit of ore out of our raw ore, and will help us kind of keep things nice and efficient. So you can see that this doesn't take too long. It's about a minute per coal. We could, in fact, upgrade this blast furnace. There is one upgrade tier between here and the arc furnace. So there is the advanced blast furnace, which we can see here. The improved blast furnace, mind you. And it still takes 60 seconds, but you can speed it up a little bit with some preheaters. Or you can make this in the arc furnace using coke dust. Again, a little bit out of our reach there as well. So looking at the quest line, it sort of explains where you're expected to go next. So there are 3 voltage tiers in immersive engineering. There's low, medium, and high. Looking at low voltage, what we can probably expect to do next so far is at least get ourselves an alternator. And the alternator, which I think I've mentioned before, will convert a lot of our rotational energy from create into voltage, into electricity rather. So we have this rotational energy, but that doesn't do anything. The alternator, however, will spin up and give us the ability to turn potential energy into electricity. So that is going to be quite helpful for us. Let's see, by the way, oh, we're up to another bucket of LPG. We are behind on LPG processing. I have to admit, I've been slacking a little bit here. So maybe we do that as well. I haven't done any of the, come on, you can do it. There we go. I haven't done any of the processing that I was supposed to do to make more rubber. So we're just sitting on a bunch of plastic. So maybe we take care of that real quick. All right, there we go. We've got that taken care of. That got us 35 more rubber. That is honestly a lot of, or sorry, plastic. That is a lot of plastic. I'm really happy with how much plastic we are producing at the moment. So we've got everything over here taken care of now. Right, I did come over here. I came over here for a purpose and I completely forgot it. So to make ourselves an alternator, we're going to need 1 capacitor and 1 transistor. And that is mostly to help us store the energy somewhere, and we're also going to need a transistor to sort of assist with that. We've got a shaft. We will make these components here pretty quickly here. So yeah, let's go for it. Now, we're also going to venture into another form of create rotational energy production, so that will be fun. Because we have not done that yet. We've only ever used the water wheels, and so we can take, and the manual mill, I guess, technically, too. So we'll start to look into that as well, because that will definitely be incredibly helpful. So I'm going to need a set of wire cutters, which are made like that. And the wire cutters will allow us to take any of our copper, which I'm about to go take and press down. Let's do 16. Any of our copper plates that are pressed down can then be sheared into individual wires. And the wires are going to be conductive enough to transfer some electricity or some flux. I'm going to kind of use these terms interchangeably. The pack calls it flux, but flux is really just electricity. And so we will be able to explore a good bit of our not explore. We'll be able to utilize a good bit of our copper and get that into sort of the electrical processing stages. So you'll see LV or low voltage. That's all going to be transferred using copper. And so the Connect Dynamo here, this recipe is new. I didn't change this recipe. You can see the recipe ID is from Immersive Engineering. That's a new recipe. Immersive Engineering has gotten a lot of changes lately, and that's a surprise. It snuck up on me. That makes this a little bit more annoying to craft. These you can make here in the Engineer's Workbench, which we have already gotten from a couple of villages, but we've also gotten a couple of those light engineering components from a couple of villages as well. So I think it's kind of, tit-or-tat. It doesn't really matter which way we go. It's going to be the same cost either way, because we have already been raiding some villages as we go. So I'm not too concerned, but I'm slightly annoyed, I guess, that recipe changed, but it's not too bad. So we'll take our cutters, like I said, and combine them here with a copper plate to get some copper wire. And that's not going to be a lot of copper wire, unfortunately, but that will be enough. And if we combine our copper wire here, we can get ourselves some LV wire coils, which, as you saw before, are going to be necessary to get ourselves into some of the electrical transmission that we're going to be looking into. Now, if I take 8 of these and wrap them around a bar of iron, we can get ourselves a copper coil block, and that is the component that we need the most for our dynamo here. This kinetic dynamo will allow us to store up that kinetic energy and turn it into it will be a component of turning kinetic energy into electrical energy. And so now at this point, all we're missing is the LV wire coil. So we're going to need to take some clay. LV wire connector is 4, and then the other is 2. Let's take some of this clay here and take it over to get blasted. I can tell you right now, having to walk all this way every time we want to smelt something, that'll get old pretty quick. So I do imagine that eventually we will go through and move that significantly closer, because it is slightly a nuisance. And we are collecting a lot of the slag. Slag, again, smelted, will work, but we can use it for a lot of things. You can use it in place of gravel in the black concrete or the various concrete recipes. You can create podzol from using a thermal recipe, same for mycelium. But the blocks of slag, when smelted, make for some really beautiful textures. I really like slag blocks, so we will be looking into those as we continue building here, so not to worry. So this will get us some LV wire connectors, and then these will be LV wire relays. So the wire relays are going to allow us to, relay energy from one point to another, and unfortunately, connectors can't connect to each other. They are termination points, essentially, in your wire network here. Let's go ahead and get that alternator, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. If we got ourselves a windmill bearing from Create, I can make a significantly larger amount of create rotational energy. And so I want to experiment with that, because we need a good bit of speed, and let's do maybe a couple more. We need a good bit of speed to get this thing kicked off, and the best source of getting a lot of speed is, of course, by shifting gears as much as you can, which we've already discussed. I'm out of... We'll do that. I think that should work. Shifting gears as much as you can is great, but we've seen already that you need a source to get those gears moving. So having a source, we got exactly 42 from that. Was that a fixed number? I can't remember. We're getting lots of XP from this process, though, which is exciting. But the fixed source of rotation here is going to be kind of a pain in the butt. It'll be a killer for us. So we want to make sure that we don't have that issue. Let's grab some sails. There are two different kinds of sails. There's the sail frame and then a white sail. I'd like to let you in on a secret. Create doesn't care which one you use. It produces the same amount of stress either way. So it's up to you. Aesthetically, I like to fill in my sails, but it serves zero functional purpose whatsoever. So do not feel obligated to ever do yourself the hard work of creating all those sails, because it's not actually going to be worth it at all. To fill them in if you just don't want to or don't have the resources. So each sail, the sail recipe got changed on me. Okay. Well, I guess this was Create's way of saying you have to use sails. I haven't made a sail in any of the recent updates, so I'm not aware of this, but okay. Well, there you go. You actually do have to have sails now. Haha, joke's on me. I spoke too soon. So we'll need some sticks. Good thing we have a bunch of sticks. Where did all the... Oh, I didn't make them yet. I'm dumb. We'll grab these sticks. We'll grab wool. We'll do this. We'll get a bunch of sail frames. I'm going to get about a stack of sails, I think should be enough. And the windmill bearing, which we will still need, is pretty straightforward. Just any stone and any wood slab. Bingo. We're good to go. I'm going to put away our excess resources here. I know I've got a bunch of sticks in here. Don't worry. We'll figure something out to do with these. We've got plenty of other components. I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and actually I want to bring... let's bring acacia wood. You'll see why in a minute. I want to create this energy, and I want to create it somewhere. Again, I'm trying to keep my base nice and spread out, so I'll probably create it over here up on this hill, and then we can move it around, move it down, etc. So a windmill can be created one of two ways. If you think of a windmill right now in your head, you're probably thinking of a windmill that's slapped on the side of a building or on the side of a large structure, and it spins this way or counterclockwise, but it spins. It sits on the. I guess the word I'm thinking of is it's basically sitting on the vertical plane. Well, you can actually build them horizontally too, and that's what I like to do. A lot of people tend to do this, and it's one of my preferred ways of creating rotational energy with a sail as well. So I'm going to take our sail, our windmill bearing, and put it down here, and you can see that there is at least 8 sail-like blocks, which includes wool or just white sails, or any color sails. These can be re-dyed when you right-click on them. And so you can place this vertically like so. And so if I just put this down and put these windmill sails on the sides of these blocks, and if you run into issues like this, just grab your Create wrench and rotate them. Or you can always just try to replace them. And once they are placed, you can use their little placement helper to place the rest. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go ahead and do, I should try to place them all together. That way we don't take too much fall damage. Looks like they are also behaving a lot like wool. So it seems like, or like beds, because it seems like you bounce on them. And so that is, whoops, that is too many. So that's half of our sails already. And so what I like to do is just build out a fun little shape with them. There's no real rules to sails. Like if I were to come down here and right click on our windmill bearing, this is a windmill. Like it counts, right? But I like to just have fun with these too. There comes a point where it's important to have a lot of, not a lot, but have some degree of, creative, I don't know, creative liberty, I guess, is really the word I'm looking for with your sail designs, because it does not matter at all. So if I have 4 sides left, if I did, I'm going to need to do this, but if I put sails here, then we did, actually here, let's do 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2. Did I miss one? Did I miss count or did I miss one? I missed one. Okay, that's what I couldn't remember. I thought I was missing one, but couldn't find it. Anyways, now we have a sail. Now you may have noticed when I turned it on earlier, this is rotating the wrong way. It's rotating a little faster now that we've got the other half of stack of sails on, but it's rotating the wrong way. So if I take my wrench out and I rotate my mouse wheel while hovering over this small little box that only highlights when I'm hovering over it, we can change the rotation direction. And now it rotates the right direction, and this causes me a great deal of joy to have it rotating in the right direction. Now, I can't remember. I'd love to put a torch on here if I could, but I can't remember if I can. Well, it looks like it doesn't really serve any purpose anyway, so regardless, let me sleep through this night really quickly. And now we can wrap up this very long episode by producing our first batch of flux. So here is what I'm going to do. I am going to need to go get a gearbox. So let's do that real quick. And then when we get our gearbox, we can rotate our rotational energy and make sure that it is facing the right way, because that is currently an issue that I fear we will run into. So if I grab, I have plenty of those, I just need more spruce wood. And I'll need one of these, but I'll go ahead and grab two just in case. Let's go and grab enough of those. And we'll do that. I think that'll be fine. So we can begin our work here. So the alternators will require a certain amount of input speed. And we can see that if we try to hook this up directly right now, and don't worry about the terrain, we will of course clean that up as we go. But if I just took this, right, and of course had it facing the right way, would be important. If I just took this here, turned this windmill on, and then put the alternator on it, you'll see that it complains. It says it appears the alternator is not rotating with enough speed. That's very important here. That's why I created such a big windmill, is so that I can go through and do my favorite little contraption. And so I'm going to clear out a little bit of space here to do it in, because I think I've shown you this before, but it does take about a 3x3 of space to do it in. Not actually take up that much space. You know, like as I mentioned earlier, these cogwheels look big, but they only take up a one block space. But again, I like to have visual logic, that, you know, something that actually kind of makes sense for why it takes up that much space and actually uses that size. So let's go ahead and do this speed here. And this right here, if I made a speedometer, we could show you. I don't have a speedometer, so I can't. But if I were to put my alternator on this guy, you see we're producing 90 FE. And FE is our measurement for flux. So right now we're producing 90 of it, and that is a pretty good amount. I don't think we can really go any faster. You see, if we put any more, we have stressed our system out too much. So we are pretty much at max speed at 90, which is not bad. Honestly, considering the resources we just invested in this, we are getting back 90 flux energy, or FE, which is forge energy, but we're getting back 90 flux for every tick, which there's 20 ticks per second, so you do the math. That's pretty significant. And in exchange for that, we're actually going to be able to produce energy from it, which is really cool. Now I'm going to rotate this like so. You guys know the drill already, I think. And I'm going to make my way out of here. Of course, I'm going to light this up a little bit. That way we don't have anything spawning down here. But if I fill in this hole just a slight bit, we can make this look good again. I'll come back and rebone meal the area. But this is where our rotation is going to come from. And so if I were to put our alternator down right here, we can now hook up one of these LV wire connectors to it. And you'll see at the top that little bar, that little red bar, filled up as soon as we put it down. So now we are producing flux. We're producing our first flux. That's exciting, right? Unfortunately, we're not using anything for it yet. Of course, as we progress in the pack, there's a ton we're going to need this for. We're going to run into needs for flux almost immediately, because our next quests here sort of involve a lot of the various components here. I'm going to go and pick this up, by the way, to get that quest reward for the engineer's workbench. I have accidentally misplaced this after the LV quest, even though you can get one of these pretty easily. But if we grabbed, I believe I read this the other day, that if I grab the lab furnace might actually be able to, what was it? There was something that I was reading the other day. Maybe it's not the lab furnace that I was thinking of, but there are a couple of things that we can make pretty quickly here to get ourselves a use, to find ourselves a use for rotational energy. The first thing is going to be ore processing. That's going to be create a crusher. But that is going to be a next episode thing. We're going to make ourselves a crusher to get some ore processing done. And we're going to put it just right out here in this general area. And we've been collecting a lot of hemp. And the reason for that is that I really love the texture of hempcrete. So we're probably going to use that and build ourselves like a little workstation, workshop for a lot of our multi-blocks. And one word of advice that I have to give to anyone who might be playing this pack alongside me, or just on your own pace, it doesn't really matter. Build in a large amount of, like, build your stuff spaced out. That is something that Minecraft does not do well with what's called a chunk update. So anytime I break a block, that triggers the entire chunk to re-render itself. Otherwise, the chunk will not re-render itself for any special reasons at all. But if anything changes in that chunk, if a block gets broken, if a crop decides to update to its next growth stage, if a entity moves, if a sugarcane block grows, etc., those things are called chunk updates. Unfortunately, a lot of machines utilize states and MBT changing a lot. So, like, for example, anytime this progress changes, that causes a chunk update, and that's not that big of a deal. These chunk updates are not going to cause a re-render nearly as much as whole blocks being changed. So a whole block will cause you to re-render the whole chunk. This will just cause the data to be reassessed, basically. But if I turn a furnace on, that furnace is now a different block. You see over here, lit gets changed from false to true. Same goes for this one here. So the problem with that is that if we have a lot of machines all in one chunk, then that chunk is just going to be flickering on and off over and over. But if we distribute it across a lot of areas in our world, then those areas may not be rendering it all the time. And so even though the machine might be working because we've got it chunk loaded, if it's not rendering, then our FPS won't be affected by it. So I strongly suggest spreading your machines out as much as you can. Even just a couple of chunks away is fine, but you can see kind of what I've already done over here. That way, if you're going to have a region or an area that lags, it's not lagging for you all the time. It only lags whenever you're in that area. And I know that that's not fun, but Minecraft, as we all know, especially in 1.18, is not the easiest to run, is not the best performing. I've got an overbuilt PC for mostly just Minecraft, and even mine tends to struggle every now and then. So we do have a lot of performance measures taken into this pack, but there's still some stuff that's just inevitable. So I do just kind of want to offer that word of advice, and hopefully it helps you as you play. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.